Very good morning, students. Welcome to today's session. In this today's session, we are going to start a new chapter called as function overloading. Before seeing what are the topics in this chapter, we'll see what is the weightage of this chapter. We have 5 marks onto this chapter, which carries one question from the 5 marks. Which carries one question from the 5 marks, which has a weightage of 5 marks. Before starting this chapter, we'll see that what are the topics we are going to cover in this chapter. First, we are going to see the introduction part, need for function overloading, defining and declaration of overloading function, restrictions on overloading function, calling overloading functions, other functions in a class, and we have another two important functions like inline functions and friend functions in this chapter. Now we will discuss one by one what are the different topics in this chapter. Welcome to the function overloading chapter. Function overloading in C++ is one of those programming language that is very flexible, and it also covers several features of object-oriented programming. In C++, overloading, we can create two or more members, two or more members of a class having the same name but difference in number or type of parameters. Number or type of parameters. It is known as C++ overloading. In C++, we can overload like methods, constructors, and index properties. I'll repeat it again. In C++, we can overload like methods, constructors, and index properties. In function overloading in C++, we can define as the process of having two or more member function of a class. We can define as the process of having two or more member function of a class with the same name, but difference in parameter. In function overloading, the function can redefined either by using different types of arguments or different number of arguments according to the requirement. it according to the requirement it is only through these different compilers can differentiate between the two overloading functions. We can achieve polymorphism through function overloading. We can achieve polymorphism through function overloading. If we use same name for different functions, compiler will automatically decide about the appropriate function by comparing the argument types and number of arguments. Once again, I'll repeat you the function overloading. The function overloading means two or more functions having a same name but different in number or types of arguments. By using function overloading, we can achieve polymorphism through function overloading. If we use same name for a different function, compiler compiler will automatically decides about the appropriate function by how it is going to choose a function, in the sense by comparing the argument types or number of argument which is being passed in a functions. This is how it is we are going to achieve the function overloading. We'll see that how the function overloading it is being processed by seeing the syntax into the next slide. Yes, coming to the syntax. Once you observe the syntax of function overloading, here we have starting with a return type, return type followed by a function name, followed by a function name with an argument list, In this syntax, I have created a two functions, same as like a return type followed by the function name with the argument list. Here we have list number 1 and list number 2, and a body is being the function body is being opened by a open brace, and we are going to close by the close brace. Here we are going to see that what is this return type, where the function is going to return the value in which manner. For an example, it is an integer int. Maybe it never returns any value like a void. It may be a real integers like a float. It can have any type of a return type followed by the function name, First of all, when you want to achieve the function overloading, the function name, but whatever the function name it is being created, should be a same name for the other function name. For an example, I'm going to create a function name called as an x, The same return type and the function name should consist of an x. It should consist of an x followed by a different argument. Example, I have passed one argument list, and also I have been passed argument list 2. If suppose an argument is int a, the int a should not be same as into a second argument list as int a. It may differ in the number or type of an arguments. This is how you are going to create a syntax of a function overloading. Once we go for an example, for this example for function overloading, we can clearly understand how we are going to create the function overloading in this chapter. Coming to this example, we have a small example. This program is for sum of two numbers and sum of three numbers. Clearly understand the concept? Sum of two numbers whereas sum of three numbers. Once I create my main program, I'm going to create an object called as an x. X is my object. And I had been created a class called as a max. Max is my class name and x is my object. See out the sum of two numbers. I'm going to access my sum function by using an object called x.sum. Once x.sum has been accessed, the sum function has a two arguments, that is 10 and 20. Once object is accessed by x, it's known as the object belongs to max. Object belongs to max class. It just goes to the class called as in max and finds out whether I have the sum function. Yes, I have a sum function under the class max, and I have been passed the two variables. I have been passed a two variables. Before getting into that, I have a sum name of a function sum, which has a two function name called as sum as well as your sum. A compiler checks the function sum has been present. Yes, sum has been present, and it checks that now how many number of arguments is being present. How many number of argument is being present. It checks that it has been two arguments telling that 10 and 20. 10 belongs to an integer and 20 belongs to an integer. Once a once a value is being passed, 10 and 20, the first value passes to the int a, and second value 20 passes to the int b. Once a value is passed, it returns a plus b. That is, a plus b, it returns a value as 30. And the sum of two numbers 30 is being present. The second one, I have see out the sum of three numbers. The x is an object which has the same name, of a function, where we come across the function overloading. Once the function has been called, it checks that I have been passing a three values 10, 20 as well as your 30. 10, 20 as well as 30. Again it goes to the class max and finds out whether we have a sum. Yes, I have a sum, and it checks that the first function sum. Yes, sum, and it is again checks the type of arguments, and also it checks the number of arguments. The first function has two arguments, and now we access three arguments, so it goes to the second function called as a sum, and it checks that a number of arguments. Yes, I have a number of argument int a, int b, as well as a int c. Here I have three arguments with a function passing three values 10, 20, 30. Now the 10 which is being passed to the A, and 20 passed to the B, and 30 passed to the C. The three values passed to the three arguments and returns A plus B plus C, and the value which is being accessed onto the sum of the numbers is the sum of three numbers is, it calculates 10, 20 and 30 is being returned here. Here we needed to see that how the function overloading is being passed. Once I create a class name called as in max, and I have the function name called as in sum, and one more function called as a sum. This we called as function overloading with number of arguments, with different number of arguments, or different types of data types. We call this as a function overloading. This small programs helps you to understand what is a function overloading. And next we'll see that what are the advantage of this function overloading. What are the advantages of this function overloading? Now let us see the major advantages of function overloading. We use function overloading to save the memory space, consistency, and reliability of our program. Again, we use function overloading to save the memory space, consistency, and reliability of a program. With the use of function overloading concept, we can develop more than one function with the same name. Function overloading shows the behavior of polymorphism that allows us to get different behaviors, although they will be some link use the same name of the function. Function overloading speeds up the execution of the program. Function overloading speeds up the execution of the program. Function overloading is used to code reusability. Function overloading is used to code reusability and also to save the memory. It helps applications to load the class methods based on types of parameters. It loads the applications class methods based on types of applications. Code maintenance is very easy. Now we'll just see the key points of the advantages. The code is executes faster, easy to understand, the flow of information, easier interface between program and real world objects, and also easy to debug a program, and also easy to maintain the codes. Once again we'll come across the code is very faster for execution, easier to understand, the flow of information, easier interface between program and real world objects, and also easy to debug the program and easy for maintenance. These are the major advantages of using of function overloading as well as needs for function overloading. In the next slide, we'll see that what are the major disadvantages of function overloading. Disadvantages of function overloading. Function declaration that differs only by its return type cannot be overloaded with the function overloading process. I'll repeat it again. Function declaration that differs only by a return type, only by a return type cannot be overloaded with function overloading process. Member functions declaration with the same parameter or the same name. Member function declaration with the same parameter or a same name type cannot be overloaded if any one of them is declared as static member function. Will come again. Member function declaration with the same parameter or the same name, the types cannot be overloaded if any one of them is declared as static member function. Each overloaded function must have different argument list. Each overload function must have different argument list. If type def is used for naming a function, then the function is not considered as a different type. This is one of a major disadvantage. If you use any type def is used for naming a function, then function is not considered as different type. These are the different advantages of function overloading, and we'll see the next topic into a next session. Before getting into the next session, we'll see what are the assignments should be done for this class. Before getting into today's assignment, we'll just have a revise. What are the topics we have covered in this session? Firstly, we have seen what is function overloading, and we have also seen with the syntax with a simple example, and also we have covered the advantage and disadvantage of the function overloading. Today's assignment is what is function overloading? Give a syntax with an example. Our next question, what are the advantage and disadvantage of function overloading? This is an assignment should be covered for the next session. Thank you, students. We'll see you into next session. Thank you.